asymmetric warfare. That is, you take covert action, make covert action as an instrument of state policy. How do we go about it? So we have to find a solution which is long-term, which is sustainable, which is affordable. Since wars have become ineffective instruments, we use sometimes the state and the non-state actors to achieve the country's strategic or political objectives. Terrorism is one type of a fight in which the experience has shown that there is no guarantee that the nations with higher military power, technological power, economic power will necessarily win. Now that ideological objective or a political objective can be achieved through many ways. When you decide to achieve it by using terror, now terror is not used against the people who are killed. They are not the targets of terrorism. It is not the 50 people killed who are the targets of terrorists. It is 50,000 who see them killed and get terrorized.
Welcome to Tactical Talk. This is Zain Khan. Today the topic of our show is the hybrid war on Pakistan and regional security. In our upcoming shows, we will explain to you in detail the different dynamics and layers of the hybrid warfare. But let's get back to the topic of the hybrid war in Pakistan and regional security. The guest of our show is Muhammad Athar Javed, the Director General of Pakistan House, and also a senior geopolitical analyst. Welcome to our show, Muhammad Athar Javed. This is Zain Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on Tactical Talk.
Thank you very much, Zain. Pleasure to be here.
Muhammad Athar Javed, let's get to the first question. What do you think about Pakistan's counter-terror strategy?
As you know that since 9/11, Pakistan has been at the forefront to fight against international terrorism. Pakistan actually basically supported every initiative that was taken by the United States and international community, including NATO in Afghanistan. What happened was that since Pakistan, supported comprehensively, but the reflection and whatever the consequences of those the militant and terrorists were, they came just on Pakistan. And Pakistan basically bore all the, the pressure, both in relation to their attacks inside Pakistan. And then also Pakistan's image was really destroyed in the process. And the second, the strategy which Pakistan adopted has been very offensive strategy against the terrorist groups, both foreign sponsored, I call them, sponsored by India and Afghanistan, and of course they are operating from Afghanistan soil now since suppose 2001. But secondly, the other strategy which terrorists adopted against Pakistan was that a sort of hybrid warfare, basically, I would say, has been implemented on Pakistan. As a result, Pakistan had to divide sort of both asymmetrical warfare, the resources on asymmetrical warfare, and also on conventional. So Pakistan, the strategy has been very successful until very recently. I would say that Pakistan again came in the limelight because of the terrorist attack, the recent terrorist attack. But overall strategy entails, I would say, two main components. One, that Pakistan has said clearly and acted upon that Pakistan would not allow terrorists to use its soil against the neighboring countries. Number two, I'm talking about the Pakistani state now. Number two, that Pakistan would and always will side with the international community if there is an appropriate policy of sport or sport system provided to Pakistan. Whatever happens in Afghanistan, actually, it has an industrial scale, I would say, bearing on Pakistani society. Pakistan's law enforcement agency, Pakistan's more than 100,000 troops are on the western border, and then our counterterrorism strategy also involved that the capacity building of the law enforcement agencies and our intelligence agencies, including the ISI, the IB, the SIU, all the FIA, all these law enforcement agencies have been working hand in hand. But of course, Pakistan still faces an enormous challenge, as I said from the start, that when there is a hybrid warfare imposed on a country, it has to fight on the eastern border and counter Indian aggression on the line of control and also on the international border. But then Pakistan also has to fight both inside its territory and also face the cross-border infiltration from Afghanistan. So our strategy, I would say, it changes. It has a dynamic feature, and one of the reasons having this kind of feature is that it evolves with the different situation. And at the moment, of course, we are grappling with another wave of terrorist activities, but I am pretty much sure that Pakistan Army, along with Rangers and all other civilian law enforcement agencies, have the full capacity to counter all kind of terrorist activities.
Let's get to the second question. India is using Afghan soil to implement hybrid warfare in Pakistan. How will the instability in Pakistan impact the peace in the region?
Well, that's a very good question, Zain, and the most relevant in the contemporary environment, the regional security environment. You see, I came across an interview by former Defense Secretary of the United States, Mr. Chuck Hagel, in which he clearly actually designated India, that India has been using Afghan soil and financing the militant networks, TTP and the BLA and all other illegal networks within Afghanistan to attack Pakistan. That means that actually this was verified by the most credible and highly placed sources in the United States government. What happens is that consistently India has been, sending terrorists across from Afghanistan in Pakistan, inside Pakistan. If you remember, the Kulbhushan Yadav, the commander, the naval commander, the active naval commander, was arrested in Quetta. This is just one example. We have, over the number of years, we have nabbed and captured and then also tried them and imprisoned them through the legal process, those Indian nationals who were operating in Pakistan. The sad thing about all this episode is that the international community really did not and has still not reacted to the fact that Pakistan has lost around 100,000 people, including more than 10,000 security officials, and also the infrastructure destruction, more than, as according to a very careful estimate, $90 billion or so lost in foreign investment, lost in infrastructure, property destruction. All these facts actually are known to the United States and NATO and other international community members, but our problem is that they have not reacted as they should have been. Pakistan's Prime Minister, Pakistan's all the highest defense official handed over actually a dossier against India on exactly the charges which also levied by the former Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, that India is using Afghan soil in the garb of developmental work and road construction, building dams. By the same time, they managed to manipulate, the government of Afghanistan, and also, I would say, also all those militant outfits they are bringing in. As you know, their Ajit Doval doctrine, he very clearly admitted. And when somebody asked actually from the foreign countries, do you have any proof? So I actually kind of get surprised on it that Ajit Doval said it in university, in all their public appearances. Former Defense Secretary admitted of the United States, Secretary of Defense, and then very recently the new Army Chief of India, Mr. Rawat actually, he actually appeared on their national TV in which he said that we will and we are doing all these proxy wars against Pakistan in order to undo the CPAC and also put Pakistan in a very awkward situation. The dilemma, Zain, here is that on the one hand we are sacrificing very precious lives of Pakistan. We are losing our international image, and at the same time, then we get to blame actually for all the actions in Afghanistan. The problem in Afghanistan is that all these more than 40 countries alliance basically failed. There were two important things that NATO actually was supposed to do in Afghanistan. One was that they must have taken care of all the Taliban, all the factions which were rising against the current Afghan government. And the second was, if they were failing in that subduing or defeating Taliban, which they of course failed, then they should have taken the other route, that was negotiating with Taliban in order to bring them in the government, taking care of the demographic contribution of Pakhtuns, and also engaging Pakistan, Russia, China, and of course Iran in the negotiation process. But that didn't happen as well. When Pakistan, they asked Pakistan to facilitate, Pakistan had 2 rounds in Murray, and then suddenly they did another action. They killed, one of the Taliban leaders in Quetta, and then everything went again into sort of vain. So these are the 2 important things which we need to highlight, that the failures of NATO, and especially the current resolute support mission in Afghanistan, should not be blamed on Pakistan. Pakistan can fight only its own war, which we are doing perfectly fine. We as a single country, under extreme sanctions, as you know, Pakistan has denied the military aid recently, and we have been denied for many other equipments, just to even in the field of counterterrorism. Still, Pakistan is the only country which very successfully fought against the most modern asymmetric warfare and defeated the terrorists. We are on the course, of course. We have not comprehensively won against the terrorists, but it is my hope that Pakistan, as I said, Pakistan Army and the government and all the people of Pakistan are resilient, and we are going to defeat all those foreign-sponsored and homegrown terrorist networks.
Let's get to the third question. Operation Zerbeas successfully neutralized thousands of militants and destroyed their command and control. How Pakistan, along with its allies and NATO forces, establish peace in the region?
Well, it's a great question, actually, Zain. You really, I would say, hit the nail. The idea was and is that Pakistan, as did in the past, seeks multilateral cooperation in terms of regional stability. Pakistan is willing to work with India, with Afghanistan, with NATO member states. On the front of the NATO, Pakistan has offered many times that as we have the checkpost on our side, the re-establishment of checkposts on other side would be very beneficial for both the countries. And the second NATO can do is that since the number of the soldiers are reduced in Afghanistan now, it's only resolute support mission, it's helping Afghan National Army. I would say the best suggestion would be to, border management on our side and also on Afghan side. There must be some sort of fencing or management control or a border control. Look what is happening in Europe, for example. Despite of the visa relaxation, there is and there are lots of checkposts which manage the border. Our problem is that the terrorists cross from Afghanistan into Pakistani territory, attack, and then they return. In recent attacks happened the same. The only thing Pakistan can do is Pakistan cooperates, has been supporting NATO in establishing peace, but it's 2 to tango. It's not possible for Pakistan to do the homework alone. The practical steps then are, number 1, the NATO must convince Afghanistan's government, Afghan government, to cooperate with Pakistan in fencing the border. When they are getting visa to enter in Pakistan, the Durand line should be a proper border. So the second point, which is a really practical step, is sharing of intelligence. NATO should share intelligence on TTP and all that leadership which is hiding in Afghanistan, in Kunar province, in other parts, and they are attacking. So these are the 2 practical steps which NATO and Afghan governments should consider taking.
Let's get to the last question. The CPEC and strategic partnership between Pakistan and China has affected the way India perceives Pakistan's geostrategic location. Do you think India would continue to impose CPEC or may be able to play a positive role in the region?
Well, I think the CPEC question is really very open. Pakistan's progress towards establishing an economic zone and the Chinese policy of one belt, one road is going to benefit the entire region and the world community at large. And the problem is that India is not reconciling with the fact that Pakistan and China's strategic partnership is for both these countries, not against India. The day India got out of this, this fantasy that as we are planning everything, whatever our business plans are against India is not true. Then the second question which is very difficult to answer at the moment, is that why India intends to destroy Pakistan's internal stability when India pretty much know that they have in their own country more than 16, 17 or maybe 20 insurgencies are underway. So the CPEC can be looked at through the prism of a stable business opportunities for the region, for the entire region, including India. And actually Pakistan, as a pragmatic Pakistani, I would say that Pakistani government and Pakistan army also offered India, also Iran, that they can join actually rather CPEC, and they should benefit from the world's, the most I would say, flourishing opportunity in terms of Pakistan's deep seaport, Gwadar port, and also the idea that this venture in the end would connect all the Central Asian states and going to Europe and Turkey. So I think basically, I hope, it is my hope, I would say, I can't say categorically, that India would come to terms with what is happening in Pakistan. The prospered Pakistan is in the interest of India and international community. A stable Pakistan would definitely help stabilize the Afghanistan and beyond the region. But if India continues to engage in these activities of establishing illegal intelligence network in our country and imposing hybrid warfare, then of course there are times which would definitely convince Pakistan and China to take action. And I can assure you that Pakistan on its side offering a peace opportunity to India, and India should benefit from the dividend of CPEC. But if she continues to oppose it, then the result would be very different for India, because if India likes to become a world power and become a part of the international community or a member of the elite club, it won't happen until and unless realize the reality that Pakistan is here to stay, and Pakistan is an emerging economy in the region and internationally.
Thank you so much, Muhammad Athar Javed, for being on Tactical Talk. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much, Zain. Very nice to be with you.
This is Muhammad Athar Javed, the Director General of Pakistan House. We were discussing the hybrid war in Pakistan and regional security. Until the next episode of Tactical Talk, this is Zain Khan. Take care and goodbye.